On this episode, I talk with the legendary jump rope dudes Dan Whitmer and Brandon Epstein. These two need no introduction as they have built a massive platform delivering jump rope information to hundreds of thousands of people and have brought an incredibly large amount of folks into the jump rope world. Dan and Brandon use jump rope not only to better themselves, but also to impact others and help create lasting, positive physical, mental change for so many. We dive into a bunch of different topics about their journey with jump rope, including how both dudes lost a lot of weight with jump rope, the importance of consistency and the Stackin Bricks philosophy, a discussion on mental fitness training, some of the dudes' most fulfilling moments, and a whole lot more. All the show notes for this episode can be found over at natekg.com. And now, please enjoy this interview with the jump rope dudes, Dan and Brandon. Dan and Brandon, the jump rope dudes, what is going on?
What up?
Not much. What's up, Nate? Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really pumped to have you guys on. It's been a long time coming, and I think that we are going to really have an extremely fun conversation. I've got a lot of things that I want to dig into with both of you guys. Let's start with the origin story, and let's kind of make it like a relatively quick origin story because I know you guys have spoken about it a lot on multiple channels. But for the person who might not be fully aware of how the jump rope dudes became the jump rope dudes, what is the story?
Well, I feel like Dan and I probably have a pretty similar story to explain how we got together, but essentially we became friends living in Austin, Texas, started running workouts on our apartment building that we were living in at the time, and people seemed to like it. Dan was leading a lot more of like the exercise, and you're bringing in some jump rope. I was ending each class with meditation and yoga, and shortly after there, I moved down to Medellin, Colombia, and Dan and I just kept in touch. We actually were just doing a podcast from afar, and then like 6 months later or so, Dan met me down there, and we just decided to go all in, and we were going to kind of replicate that thing that we were doing at our apartment complex with our friends and teaching fitness combined with mindfulness. And over time, the market just told us that they would prefer just to have jump rope focused content, and we realized that. And so we did less mindfulness content and just focused solely on jump rope. And 5 years later, and yeah, we got like pretty nice community of people dedicated to jump and rope.
What was your experience, Dan?
I would agree with everything Brandon said. I would say the only thing left out of there was in the very, very beginning, I actually lost about 60 to 70 pounds jumping rope when I had like a corporate job. So for me, that was like kind of the catalyst for like, whoa, jump rope is like a really cool tool. And yeah, then everything after that Brandon said, that's kind of how it went down. We met, we pretty much became like best buddies, and had an interest in starting this company to, just help other people realize, I think, some of the things that we did, and also just to, not just the fitness stuff, but to create a life as well that we are really pumped on. So
nice.
Brandon pretty much covered everything else. Yeah.
So you guys had like a surprisingly large number of similarities between the two of you. I was looking into your backgrounds, and it seems like you guys both shared a history with football, and you kind of have a lot of things in common.
Yeah. That was kind of weird when we first met. I think that's why we became friends like instantaneously, because I'll never forget, like I saw Brandon in the elevator, and I was like, this guy looks a lot like me. And we just started going back and forth, and then realized like, wow, this is weird, man. We have all these similarities. And yeah, it was pretty serendipitous.
That's really cool that you guys had a lot of similarities. That's pretty funny. It means you guys were really were destined to partner up and work on this thing together.
Yeah. I think another big thing for us too was like, we both like battled like being overweight, and I guess that stemmed from we both had the same mindset playing football in college. Wolverine stories are a little bit different there. I think we don't need to get into all the details, but we're both football players, and the goal when you play football is to get as big as possible. And then, like Dan said, like once he got into the corporate world working. It was like, okay, this isn't sustainable. And I found something like similar. And so we were both looking for solutions for, okay, how do we like lose all this weight, which Dan lost 70 pounds and I lost 60 pounds. And for Dan, it was jump rope. For me, it was like doing a lot of the boring fitness stuff. And then jump rope helped me lose like my final 20 pounds and kind of sustain it. But I thought that was like a big part of the relatability that we have with each other and that we could have with other people is like, we really we weren't dudes who ever had six packs, you know, when we were younger. We weren't those naturally lean, fit guys. It was actually like a lot of hard work and effort to figure out the fitness thing. And then jump rope just made it so much more enjoyable and fun and simple and easy. And so, yeah, once Dan introduced me, obviously Dan went through his transformation. He introduced it to me and I was like, okay, great. Like, let's go. Like, this is way better than what I was doing.
Nice.
Yeah.
I really like that. So I kind of want to ask you both about the first time you picked up a rope, because I'm imagining it might not have been the most simple thing to initially pick up. And it sounds like, Dan, you were the one that picked it up the first. What was your first experience with the jump rope?
Oh man, that's a great question because I remember it like yesterday. So
in a good way or a bad way?
No, a great way. Like, I mean, I know that people, you know, same with people in your community, Nate, but yeah, jump rope totally changed my life. I got recommended to jump rope from a buddy who had lost some weight, and he was like, you should jump rope. So the first jump rope I ever bought was a $12. The brand was called Empower, and it was like a weighted handle jump rope that I bought from like a Dick's Sporting Goods in Times Square. That was the first.
Wow.
That was like my first jump rope ever, and I remember just
the
like
exact name of it and everything. That's what's up.
Everything, man.
Nice. And so you started using it. Was were you immediately drawn to it? Was it immediately like, oh, this is something like new, or what were your first initial thoughts using it?
So initially it was pretty difficult. Like, I went through the same kind of thing that a lot of people I think who are starting out jumping rope go through, just like tripping or not really having the right rhythm down, not being able to do any like tricks or anything like that. But the thing that I noticed immediately that I loved about it was that I felt, and it's different than what I think about it now, but it's kind of funny. At the time, like, I was just trying to lose weight. And what I liked about the jump rope was when I was spinning the weighted rope, I felt like I was kind of lifting weights, but I was also doing so like I felt like I was doing cardio too, almost like cheating the system a little bit. Like, all right, cool, I'm getting like a muscular workout in, and I'm burning calories and doing the cardio thing. So I liked that feeling of when you feel your shoulders and your back like doing the work too.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And you said it's a little bit different now. How's it changed?
I think I just view it now as like an overall, you know, like, it's great for weight loss, but you can also do like Nate, you're very like amazing at doing tricks. You can do it to like increase athleticism. Like, there's a lot of different paths that you can go down with jump rope. But yeah, the thing initially that I got psyched on it was because I kind of viewed it as like a cheat system.
Nice.
I was like, oh man, this is great. Like, I can just put it in my bag and take it wherever.
Yeah, it's really accessible. Brandon, what was your experience when you first picked up a rope?
I'm sure sometime during elementary school, I did pick it up a jump rope, but my first real memory of like, this is something people do for exercise was, remember we were like, Dan and I were in our upstairs fitness in our apartment building. And, you know, Dan obviously had been talking about jump rope because he was really into it. And he was like, yeah, well, why don't you just try it? And he gave me his red Buddy Lee rope. And I remember, I was like, how long do I do it for? And he's like, oh, you know, we could do sets of like 30 seconds. And I remember the first 30 seconds I was like, dude, what do you mean 30 seconds? Like, how many 30 seconds? Is it the whole workout or what? Like, I just remember sure, like I was jumping over the rope and I was making the basic form, but just, I was amazed at how much of a cardio workout it was. And I was like, thought it was crazy that people actually jump rope for 30 minutes. And so I can relate to all the YouTube comments of people being like, what do you like? How do you go from 30 seconds to 30 minutes? Because like
Right.
I felt that same. So yeah, that was my first memory. It took me through a few intervals of 30 seconds. I was like, this is really hard. And then slowly but surely, I just kind of built up. Like literally, what we tell people is what I remember going through was just like adding, at more and more 30-second intervals and building my way up. But man, it was hard when I got started for sure.
Yeah, I really like that because I've seen obviously a lot of your guys' content. I like that you guys are so real about like, this is what worked for us. This is what we really dig. And we know it also works for you. And speaking to people who are trying to lose weight as well. And I really like that. You guys are very like real with that. When you guys started Zen Dude Fitness, because that was the precursor to Jump Rope Dudes, you mentioned, and Brandon, you and I were talking about this a little bit offline before the podcast, there was a bit more of an emphasis on mental training. What did that look like originally? And I know that you said you ended up kind of phasing it out and moving towards more of a weight loss focus. But what did that mental training piece look like in Zen Dude Fitness, and why did you want it in there? Why did you find it valuable?
Well, I think Dan and we're Zen dudes first and foremost, and we still are to this day, which just essentially means that we believe the most important moment is the present moment. And we just try to live our lives that way. And I think we just saw so many people not just struggling physically, but also emotionally and not being able to like really enjoy their lives and be present and, dealing with things that we dealt with before, like, anxiety or like trips of depression. And so I think we just saw, hey, like, it's really great to give people these workouts, but it would be even more empowering to also give them some mindfulness techniques as well. So we definitely, like, still on the YouTube channel today, we have workouts where we did meditations at the end to kind of give people the best of both worlds. And I think that was it. I don't know, what do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I would say that like I'm personally someone who has struggled and still struggles at times with anxiety and depression. And like one thing that we realized was like, yeah, fitness is cool, but there's so much more that goes into like, I think what everyone really wants is just to live an awesome life. And if you can be fit, like if you can be fit and do that, that's cool. But just being fit is not going to get you, if you don't feel good and you're living a lifestyle that you don't want, eventually you're not going to really care that you have a six pack. You're going to be like, well, my life sucks and like I'm not happy.
Right.
And it was kind of more of just like a personal journey of like also kind of going through that stuff myself and being like, yeah, there's, like Brandon said, and Brandon was actually one of my like main teachers with a lot of the mindset work that he's done in the past. So he would lead me through like guided meditations and stuff. And this was before we started our business. So when we did, I was like, hey man, I think like the work that you do is really valuable. And I think that we should like incorporate that into the physical fitness stuff as well.
I want to double back to the mental fitness training in a minute because I want to know more about that. But before we do, Dan, would it be cool if we kind of dug into a little bit more of your history on the depression and anxiety thing, as much as you're comfortable with sharing? Because I'm curious where that, I guess, began and what your journey has been with that.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. And I think, no, I'm totally fine being like vulnerable about this because I want people to know that it's okay to like talk about these things. Mm-hmm. Sorry, what was your original question? Like how did it?
So let's kind of, I guess, add some kind of a timeline to it. When I guess depression and anxiety you came to realize like, oh, this is something that I legitimately am dealing with and I need to figure out how to deal with it. I'm imagining the awareness and the I want to work with this are probably separate, but I also don't know. So definitely kind of fill that in and let me know kind of what that journey has been like.
Yeah, for sure. It started when I was 16. I just was having a lot of like attention issues. I wasn't really doing that well in school and just kind of feeling overall like lethargic, not really, I just, to be blunt, like wasn't really caring about my life. And my parents were kind of like, is everything okay? And that's when my dad actually revealed to me that like we do have a pretty strong history of anxiety and depression in our family, and it's caused some like not so fortunate incidents. But this was all my father, I love him to death, but he didn't always talk super openly about that kind of thing. Like it wasn't, like depression and stuff like that isn't talked about like it is now so openly. So when I was 16, I was kind of like, hey, I feel like, for lack of a better word, like I feel really shitty and I want to like figure out why.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to see a psychiatrist and like a couple different psychologists. I started taking medication and then basically took like depression and anxiety medication until age 24. Up until that point, it was pretty much just I had no external way of working on it other than taking medication. So I didn't even know, like, it was also during the time where I was going into college, so
That
like my
is a
main
lot
concern was,
to have going on
yeah,
at the same time.
yeah. And I was just more concerned with like, being seen as like cool and like hanging out with my friends and just trying to fit in and feel normal. Once I hit age like 24, I had realized that some other stuff started to come into my life. I started just reading more about depression, anxiety, ways that you can, like other ways besides medication that you can not totally defeat it, because I don't think some of those things are things that go away, but you can learn to live with those attributes and not have it ruin your life. And so by the time I was 24, that's when I decided like, okay, I want to like stop taking medication altogether and just focus more on different ways to try and make myself feel better or remove certain things from my life that might be triggering those feelings.
That's a lot of self-awareness, and that is a lot of effort. And I thank you for sharing that. And you have really, that's a lot of strength to do that and to have that perspective in your journey. Does jump rope fit into that as one of the things that has helped?
Oh, absolutely. 100%, man. I mean, like what I used to do in New York and why I got so pumped on it was that first jump rope I bought. That's when I was living in New York, and I used to go to this park and I would just put music on when I was feeling like really depressed or stressed, or like when things just felt like really heavy. That was my escape. Like I would just go, and it still is, like when I'm not feeling good, I love to just work myself out until the point of like complete, like I'm gonna like fall over.
Yeah.
And just kind of like put my music in, concentrate, and like that. Yeah, jump rope was a huge part of just, not just like from a fitness standpoint, but what you're doing when you're jumping rope is you're like developing a flow. You're almost kind of dancing.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it did more than just what lifting weights would do. It was kind of this like practice that I would do to like kind of in a way like build up my self-confidence. Like as I was doing it and getting better, it kind of like put that inside of me. It helped me deal more with the feelings I was feeling.
And it's like totally immersive with your whole body. You can't be half present with it. Otherwise, you're going to miss and whip yourself basically,
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That is really cool. Brandon, does the mental fitness training, I want to know more about what that is. And I guess actually just what it is, because I have really no follow-up questions. I'm not really fully sure what that looks like.
I guess the easiest way for me to put it in a container would say that mental fitness training is just being able to control your focus and then focus on your conscious level and then focus on your subconscious level, which is tied into a lot of beliefs and things that have been programmed before you're fully even aware of they were being programmed. So you can more reliably just control how you feel and feel good. And so I can give you some examples of what that could look like.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's like on the conscious level, it's super simple. Like everyone, it's the same thing. Like Dan and I started the slogan of "Do the thing" because everyone was like, "Well, how do I get results?" And we just said the same thing over and over again. We're like, jump rope, like do your 30-minute workouts or more, whatever you want, and then eat the right amount of food for your body, right? It's actually very simple to get the fitness results. And then for the mental fitness, it's the same thing, but no one does it. You don't learn in school. It's not mainstream. You can actually train your focus, and like actually jump rope could be something you could use to train your focus. Like meditation is like, the most basic form of just like, hey, let me just focus on my breath coming in and out. But even beyond that, of being able to just focus on what you want and not what you don't want, which sounds like really, that's like, it seems too simple. But if you think about it, a lot of our problems just come from basically having a weak mind, which means we're not good at controlling our focus. Because when you focus on what you don't want, obviously you feel good, right? When you go back in your mind, you focus on those past failed relationships, or you focus on the credit card debt you have, or you focus on, oh man, why do I still have this like little bit of fat below my belly button? Like it makes you feel bad. And when you focus on what you want, which is, oh, you know what? I got my workout in today. I feel good about that. Or, you know what? I worked hard today. I made some money. I'm making progress towards paying off that credit card. Or, hey, you know what? I'm putting out the best version of myself, and the next relationship is going to be my best relationship, right? And that's all a matter of focus. And so that's like what goes on the conscious level. On the subconscious level, it's being able to identify that between the ages of 0 and 7 and 9 years old, most of us receive programming that a lot of times doesn't serve our best interests. It's basically whatever the beliefs were of your immediate family or immediate environment. And so if you never go back and kind of do the inventory of what did I take from them that made them miserable, that maybe is now being passed on to me, rewrite that programming, you could carry that forever. And so that's like the second part of it, which is on the subconscious level, which there's some deeper techniques to change that. But those are essentially a couple of the main things that are involved in mental fitness training.
So it sounds like really identifying all of the things that could be contributing to a negative or pessimistic mindset, and then course correcting those to be more optimistic and steadily optimistic. Is that true?
More or less, yeah. Because I think a lot of people are programmed into just being a victim, and they're like, okay, well, this is how things are, because these tools aren't made readily available for people. So I really, just through my experience and working with all my clients, I've seen people really have been able to shift their perception, right? Because the reason most people don't even understand why they have the feelings that they have, they don't realize that, okay, the mind is constantly making internal representations. And it's like, why is it making that representation, right? Why do I see that and then get angry, right? Like two people can see Donald Trump. One person can get super happy, the other person gets super angry. It's because we're making those internal representations. And those are all based off of subconscious beliefs that we hold. So if you can go back and if you can make the unconscious conscious, then you have the opportunity to go back and say, you know what? I don't want to feel like shit every time like I see, the president's face. Let me just change this belief so I don't have to feel so terrible. And you kind of can do that for everything in your life.
Yeah, that's really, I really like that. That's really cool. I want to touch on the idea of consistency, because you guys have been very, very consistent in a lot of respects over the past few years, many years. Dan, I kind of want to start with you because you were discussing using jump rope as a tool to feel better when you were in a low point. Do you consider consistency with doing jump rope workouts? Was that a relatively how easy was that to accomplish? Because it sounds like it was very much an escape. Were there any blocks, or did you find it very easy to kind of get into being consistent because it was so lucrative emotionally and physically?
I think it was easier for me. I don't want to say there was like, I think I'm also the type of person who can be like hard on myself in a good way. So, I mean, it's the whole like premise of do the thing. Like I just hear so many people talk about like, oh, I struggle with consistency. It's like, what is there to just do it. Like, stop talking, just do it. Like, even if you don't want to do it, just do it. And I feel like, in a lot of ways, I feel like growing up, I did have a good ability to, like, if something was, if I didn't feel good about something, to just like do something until I would get the result. So I don't want to say that, like, I'm not trying to say that being consistent is like, oh, you should just, like, I know that people really do struggle with being consistent, but I think like, whenever that topic comes up, we always tell people, like, you just can't look for motivation. You can't rely on feeling good to do things. You have to rely on the practice of just doing something consistently all the time.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Brandon, you have a tattoo about stacking bricks. I heard you speak about that before. Can you elaborate on that philosophy? Because I think it fits in with this discussion.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, every workout is a brick, right? It's just like a positive action that you can take. I actually stole it from, I heard this interview of Will Smith years ago where he talked about how his dad made him build a wall. And he's like talking about how he was just laying every brick as perfectly as it could be laid. And then you do that over time and eventually you have a wall. And that's, something that I think that everyone can resonate with, whether, you're doing fitness and, it literally is just having consistently doing those workouts over and over again and, eating the right amount of food over and over again. And then then all your friends or family members who haven't seen you in a while go, oh my God, like what happened to you? Like, how did you get this? Right. And it's not like you took a magic pill. You just consistently stacked enough bricks to create the outcome you want. And so, we apply it to workouts, but you can really apply it to everything in life.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You guys really are. The message you put out is so good because it's really, like you said, do the thing, get out there, just literally just make it happen. Which, this is really good. I want to kind of go in the direction of the entirety of your fitness. I'm curious if there have been. We spoke about football originally, but I'm curious if there are other sports or other activities that you guys have tried out, tested, implemented in your fitness somewhere along the way. And then whoever wants to take this first, you can jump in.
Sure. Well, Dan's basically a professional surfer at this point. So
yeah.
No. I mean, I enjoy that a lot, but I got a lot of work to do.
I've seen a lot of your posts on your personal profile of you filming that and getting out there with the waves, and it looks super cool. What got you to do that in the first place?
I don't really have a great answer for that. I think
just in California, so might as well surf.
Well, I've always been into. I think I would have surfed my whole life if I grew up on the West Coast, because I was like I did like skateboarding. Like I was a little skater kid. I did BMX, rollerblading. Like I did all those sports when I was young, and then I came out here, and my roommate actually, he was the one who just randomly was like, hey, do you want to, like, I'm gonna go do surfing. Like, why don't we try this out? And I was pretty scared of the water for a long time, and then I got out there and did it, and was like, oh no, like I'm totally addicted to this.
That's cool. That's really cool, man. I dig that. Has that so do you consider that like more of a leisure activity or more of like part of your exercise, or both?
I would say both, but definitely I take it very seriously. Like I'll go.
I love it.
I mean, I do it pretty much. No, I know, man. That's how I feel like when I get locked into something, like I just get locked in. And like it was the same for jump rope. And I think it's like I've taken a lot of the principles that I've learned from like, creating this business and jumping rope to activities like surfing, where it's, it's something that like Brandon, he'll talk about in a sec, like he does boxing. And all these activities are just like many activities that you would do, whether it's like learning to knit a sweater or make a song or whatever, they're really hard. Mm-hmm. And I think there's something about that challenge where you can like incrementally get better all the time that keeps like bringing me back to activities like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can say it's constantly, there's something to learn. It's skill acquisition over and over. Brandon, what are your thoughts? Dan said that you do boxing.
Yeah, I do boxing. I think Dan and I, like, this is another one of the similarities that we have, is that once we get into something, we just go deep down the rabbit hole, and we're like, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily just like discipline. It's just like getting obsessed with something just because of that process. Like you said, the skill acquisition, like the reward of like being a beginner and being on the path to mastery, where like, you know, especially like Dan started surfing at what, 32, 31? And and I started boxing at like 28 or 27. So like neither of us are gonna be professionals at these things, but it's just really rewarding to be able to just work hard at something, get better, and just the process, you know,
because like constantly leveling up and having like this new goal that you're after.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like the whole Zen Dude fitness thing was, you know, the whole point of like living is to enjoy the process. So for me, boxing is just another thing that I really did enjoy doing, and it's just another thing that I could put myself in the state of process where I just enjoy doing it, and I don't necessarily need to like get anything out of it on the back end, you know. And I really enjoy that.
That's cool. Do you guys like, because I know like for me personally, when you say obsession, there have been many times where I've had something that should be done, and then I learn of something. Like recently it's been microphones. I've never been really into the details of audio, but then a few days ago I was like, oh, and here goes a 2-day binge on information on audio and microphones. Like, do you guys ever do that sort of thing where you just go all in on research and stuff, or is it more like activity based?
I feel like I'm more of a kinesthetic learner, so I don't learn as much from like researching. I like to do things over and over, and that's kind of how I learn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I would say the same exact thing for me. I just have to like, I'll lose my attention if I try to like go too deep into something, but I just have to like have it in my hands and just be like, yeah, learning it that way.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like when Dan used to edit all of our videos, and then like he taught me how to, and like I could have never watched YouTube tutorials. Like I literally had to be like hand over hand, and Dan was like, all right, now you click the buttons. And that was
nice.
the only way to do it. Otherwise I wouldn't be disciplined enough.
That's cool. That makes sense. Dan, with the skating, because I used to skate as well when I was a lot younger and willing to destroy my shins. Now I just stick to the longboard. What kept you engaged with skateboarding when you first started, and what does that look like now? Because I know you still skate, yeah.
Yep. I would say the same. It's, you know, not to be redundant, but like the same things that keep me so psyched on like surfing and jump rope. It's this like, I feel like I wake up every day and I view it as this clean slate of like, what like thing can I accomplish today? So even as something as silly as like, there's speed bump in this parking lot that I've been trying to ollie over, or I've been a little bit too scared to like do an ollie over this for the past couple of weeks. And like last night I went out and I just did it. And
that's what's up.
I was just like my whole day was made because of that. I was just like, man, it took me so many hours to get to that point where I could build up like the confidence in my mind to just go for it. So I think like those little wins, it's like, it's that dopamine rush that I crave.
Yeah.
You know, like learning, like the first time I did crisscross with the jump rope, it was like, whoa, like, oh, I want to do that again.
Yeah.
And that same thing with skating. It's just like something that you can progressively, I'm sure there's like a good phrase or a word for this, but I think both Brandon and myself are attracted to activities that you can like incrementally improve on all the time. You know, there's like that little like treat that you get at the end of every day for like leveling up just a little bit.
And there's not like one huge barrier to accomplishment versus like something else that's like, I don't know what the example would be, something that's like really more technical. You would have to put in hours and hours and hours just to get a little bit better, versus these things are more attainable. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time, like especially in college, and I've been in Santa Monica on that huge stretch of concrete, which is now updated. I've been there since then, but I spent a lot of time skating on my longboard and just like cruising. Do you ever do that? Because when I do, I love that feeling of just like, it feels like I'm just literally flying, but like on wheels. And hopefully I don't hit a rock and literally go flying.
Yeah, I've definitely done my share of that. But yeah, dude, I think there's definitely another word for that. I've realized that I crave activities where the wind is blowing in my face.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like, I think a lot of surfers and skater type dudes talk about that. That like snowboarding, anything where I'm on a board and I'm moving forward, there's like you said, there's this sensation that it just feels like, it feels just way better than walking somewhere.
Have you ever been skydiving?
About that feeling that, yes.
Yeah,
actually,
that's
Brandon
like the
and I
ultimate.
Yeah, dude. Oh man. Would you do that again?
Honestly,
have you done it multiple times?
I've only done it once. And in classic fashion, it was after a breakup. So obviously you gotta go to something crazy after you break up with someone. But I did it once, and then it was so, oh man, like, it was so cool. Then I think the next day I went skating, and I was like, oh, this is just like a bad version of skydiving. But I don't think I would do it again though, just because the more I think about it, the more it's like there's a very small margin, a margin of error, or there's a small possibility that there would be error because these are professionals that are handling the shoots and stuff. But at this point, it's like, I don't know if, like, even if it's a really small percentage, if that percentage is even like worth gambling, you know? Like, also was terrifying. So there's that.
Yeah, I was pretty excited once we got on the ground again.
Right? We landed, when I did mine, we landed really softly. And I guess most people would be able to stand up, and I like literally just like my knees just like buckled and I went down to the ground. The guy's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I thought I was like, I'm just happy to be down on the ground now. But
I'm just gonna lay here.
Yeah, for real. I was like sitting there like stunned, you know. You mentioned in a previous interview or on YouTube, I forget where, that you would want to make hip hop music videos, and I've seen you on Instagram post a lot of video content creating, and there's a lot of like skating and video stuff together, which I super vibe with because I've done very similar things. Why are you interested in making hip hop music videos?
I think that's probably the genre. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a huge like hip hop music fan, not just like listening to it, but I love the way it makes me feel, more self-confidence, more like just motivation to go do things. And then from like an artistry level, I'm just drawn to the fact that a hip hop music or a music video in general is like, you can put a ton of editing and creativity and your own personal work into it, but it doesn't take as long as a film. You know, like for me, I'm very my attention's like not long enough to make like movies or videos that are more than like 10 minutes. So I view, you know, having like a 3-minute canvas to like listen, there's nothing greater than that feeling of like listening to a song and creating a video in your head of what it looks like and being able, you know what I mean? Like
I really
that,
do.
like,
I really do.
I don't know. You probably like, you're into making a lot of videos. Like I'm sure you feel this, like
it just shows up in your brain when you hear it.
Yes. Yeah. I just see videos all day long. Like whenever I hear music, I see myself in a music video, like doing something. And I'm like, oh, I have to make that. Like I have to get this shot and like put this filter on it or like, you know, do this effect on it or whatever.
Dude, you know, for the longest time, I literally couldn't listen to certain songs while I was driving because my mind, like, I was like visualizing exactly what I wanted. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I have this friend, would fit perfectly for this like role, or like if she was at this house or this place by the beach or whatever, like I would do this kind of a shot. And like I was like, okay, dude, like you're driving, like you can't do this kind of a thing, you know?
Yep.
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's super cool, so man.
True.
Brandon, I'm curious for both of you actually, but Brandon, I'm curious, has fitness evolved in terms of the actual, I mean, obviously you've added boxing later on, but in terms of the jump roping and the standard workouts you've done, has it evolved in terms of what you actually do when you show up, or have you kind of remained pretty consistent over the years you've been jumping and taking fitness very seriously?
Oh, it's definitely evolved for me. Like I've done a lot of different things. Like I would say, I was in the football phase where I just did, everything was get as big as possible. And then I actually did a bodybuilding show when I was in college. And so that was, I had to experience that whole world that I went through. When I was living in Austin, I was doing a lot of yoga for a few years. And, then I met Dan. I started doing a lot of jump rope. And I say now, like, the jump rope is the thing that's always consistent. Like, I'm always doing it every week. And now it's more of like, how can I have the most fun with my workouts? Because, we live in Southern California. So now I do some surfing. I got a mountain bike. I go into the mountains. I got the boxing. And so I guess, in the past, I'm married now. So my perception around my body is different as well. Like I used to be way more just thinking about aesthetics. And I think now, like, all right, how can I have the most fun possible and just be super active and fit?
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. So it's just more like you were saying before, like life. Like what's the process that you're doing in life? Like what do you actually want your body to feel like versus like, sweet, I got 6 packs. Like let's just hold those for a little bit longer, and then after the competition, I'll let it go. Dan, what are your thoughts on how fitness has evolved or stayed consistent over the years?
I would fully agree with what Brandon said. I think like when I was younger, I was more focused on what do I look like, and now even when I meet people, and I'm not throwing shade at like the bodybuilding community because I think that is incredibly hard to do what those guys do, guys and girls do. But I think my fitness has evolved more to like, dude, looking good is like, what can you do? Like, can you do anything? Like, it's not impressive to me to just like, to chase that feeling of being like a model type person. I think fitness now has evolved where like the only reason I work out is for performance. Like one of the biggest, if not the biggest reason that I jump rope a lot is so that I can surf better or that I can skate better. Like everything now is more around like, I want to maintain like a good body fat percentage, but like I'm not really focused on I do no weightlifting anymore. I'll do body weight exercises, but not like on a strict like calisthenics type of regimen. I would say that it's just evolved from more of like, I'm looking for like an aesthetic look, and now it's more performance based.
Gotcha. So do you guys not, how do you feel about the weightlifting, like free weight and barbell movements? Because from my perspective in my own journey, I've actually added those in later because they feel good. But what are your guys' thoughts on barbell, dumbbell, free weight kind of movements in strength training?
California, you're not allowed to do that because of COVID.
Right. Well, let's back up, pre-COVID. Yeah, that's a good distinction. You're like, hold on a second, let's qualify this.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, Darren probably say the same thing. Like, we definitely see validity. Like, it's really good to have that functional strength and do that resistance training. So, yeah, I used to do, like, at least, like, a little bit of weights each week, just more like functional strength, maybe do some squats, maybe do some bench press. But recently, the last 8 or 9 months hasn't really been an option. So, just crush those pull-ups and push-ups, baby. Those are like the main things, and then of course some ab exercises and some air squats, lunges, things like that as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was gonna say like we both feel very like those movements are amazing. Like functional fitness and doing things like deadlifting. I'm a huge believer in all those things, and I think like it's really cool to see that community growing and see people that can like are getting stronger. And I don't want to say CrossFit necessarily, but people who like train for that type of stuff. Yeah, to just like become an overall like strong athlete. I think it's awesome. I think Brian and I are both just at a point where like we probably would lift more, but there's like only so much time in the day, and I'm like, well,
you'd rather be spending it outside doing something.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why we pay that California tax. It's like outside all the time.
Do you guys like California the best of anywhere you've been, or what are your thoughts on like where you've lived before? Like, do you like it here?
I love it here.
Yeah. I personally think it's the best place, like as far as like all the activities and like the city and everything. I think it's the best place in the US. Well, actually, I would say in anywhere in the world that I've traveled to, I think you get the most. Now, talking about like some of the issues we're facing in LA,
Right.
everything from like lockdown to like taxes to the issues we have with homeless population. That's a whole nother story that kind of muddies the water. But like, SoCal by itself is like impossible to beat for me.
I would have to agree. I mean, I think there's things about every place that we've lived that we absolutely love. But if I had to look at it at an overall perspective, I think, yeah, Southern California checks like the most boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, I was born and raised in Southern California, so I have less experience outside, but anytime I have traveled somewhere else, I'm like, I think I'm ready to go back home. I want to move in a little bit of a different direction. I want to talk about content and social media land because I really respect the way you guys have discussed and have been transparent in the past about the way you've gone about your production of videos. You've talked about filming at the right times of the day, golden hour, being fast while you film, all these different things, and being very clear that you're there to create a good video in multiple senses, both the information provided and the way it's presented aesthetically and stuff. Because social media, there's a huge discussion about social and these different platforms right now for many reasons, but in terms of the general user creating content to share with a network or perceiving content from a variety of sources, what are your thoughts as two dudes that have a very huge following, because you guys are very deep into the know of social and all the ways it can be used and how it can impact people, especially with the mindset stuff. I'm curious to know your thoughts on how you think social should be used and kind of the social media literacy piece for people who create content for their network and for a general user perspective.
I think the first thing I would say is that anyone who creates content has to become comfortable with being a videographer. Like, I think a lot of people want to just be like the Instagram, what's that thing? You can call yourself a public figure. But they're like, oh, I need like a filmer or this or that. It's like, especially at the beginning, you need to be like the filmer, the editor, and the content creator.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people like. They don't get started, or their brand doesn't like get past to that next level because people want to try and like cut corners or not focus as much time on like the production quality and stuff. And I think if your goal is really to like grow something on social media, like no one is going to help you. Like you really have to become just creating content on a schedule. And like I said, knowing how to like edit and do all those other things that can help you put more content up and like continuously improving the quality and all those things.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Brandon, do you have any thoughts on that? I can also clarify too, if you want me to clarify before moving forward with your thoughts.
Yeah, sure. What else would you like to know?
I'm thinking also for people, I think there's a negative side as well, and I think this fits very well with the mindset piece that we're discussing, which is, when people who are casually using Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these things, if you don't know what Dan just articulated or what you guys have spoken about in the past about taking a lot of pre-measured steps to create good content, both again information, but in a way that it will be received well and distributed the most, you might, as a general user, think, oh, this person is whatever, they're perfect, they always are on point, this, that, and the other, because social media doesn't necessarily show you the back end of how things are moving. And I've spoken a lot in the past about, I think we need more of a discussion on social media literacy and understanding that this is a tool that can be used in many different ways, but regardless of how you use it, there is a negative piece if your goals aren't very clear. Have you seen, obviously you've seen the negative sides of social, there's no way to not see, especially at your guys' level. What are your thoughts on how to curb and avoid a negative experience in the social media landscape, as someone who has a lot of experience, but also you have such a huge focus on mindset and mentality?
Well, I'll just quickly say that I think that everyone just has to have the awareness that whenever you open any social media app, everything is designed to keep you there as long as possible. Like, it literally is designed to be like a drug. Like, from the algorithm, all the algorithms, if you want to know how to, like, the secret or how to cheat them, all they want is to keep people on them as long as possible. Like, that's the algorithm's goal. So that also becomes a goal of the creator if you're doing it the right way, which means that people who are creating, that you're consuming their social media, they're always looking to see, okay, what are people engaging with the most? How can I get people to come back? How can I basically get people to spend more time and energy consuming my stuff? So, like, I think no one really who's not putting stuff out as like a company or a brand or a creator doesn't really think about that way. But that's the way everyone else is thinking about it, who is a creator or owns the platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's good to have that awareness, and then understand, like you said, it's a tool. So, like, you don't owe anyone anything. I think when, in a perfect world, you should only open up a social media app if you have like an intention. Like, I'm definitely not, I'm not on this level yet. I would like to be. I'd like to get there where it's like, okay, I'm opening this because I have to post this, or I'm opening this because I'm looking to get a workout from the Jump Rope Dudes Instagram or YouTube.
Right.
But these things are designed like crack cocaine, so it's hard. It's definitely hard.
I feel like there's a lot of I feel like people sometimes don't realize the amount of power they have to cultivate the tool to be useful for themselves. And the reason I say that is, in the past, many years ago, when I first started using Instagram more consistently, I kind of followed a lot of whatever, like just trash accounts and things that I guess were funny, but they didn't really serve me. And then that, because of the algorithm, leads you down this whole other rabbit hole of content. And at a certain point, I was like, you know what if I use this as an educational tool? Educational being loosely defined, obviously, because it's Instagram, but you put more positive messages, you put more jump rope, you put more workout stuff, and you take away whatever negative things were there. And all of a sudden things kind of shifted and it clicked for me. I was like, oh, like I can really get in here and change my experience in this area, almost as if I was walking into a library and I walked into a different section with different subject matter books,
Absolutely.
That's a whole suggested or explore page, right? It's going to give you whatever you're consuming. And that kind of comes back to like what I was talking about earlier on. It's like, what you focus on is what you get. And like, social media could not be a more perfect place to demonstrate how this plays out in reality, because if you're focusing on specific things, the algorithm is going to keep feeding you that same stuff. So just going with the intention of focusing on what you want.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Do you think in your line, in the work you've done with mental fitness training, do you think that social can actually be, like, if you can forcefully use it to push more positive and help with the conscious and subconscious in terms of strengthening that?
I think it has the potential to do that. I would say that probably almost no one is using it that way.
Gotcha. Because it's so difficult to maintain.
Yeah, I mean, we see it in our community, like we see a lot of people who are like really getting their life improved by being in our Facebook accountability groups and doing our workouts and stuff like that. But I'm sure we're not the only thing that they consume, right? I'm sure there's garbage as well. It's tough, man. We're all so busy and we do so many things unconsciously that it's hard to break that have it. You know, it's hard to not eat that cookie when it's always.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So let's kind of take a little bit of a look at all the things you guys have seen over the years of doing this. What has changed over the years you've been putting out content? Because let me reframe this, because you guys have been jumping. I would imagine you've been jumping a little bit longer than you've been putting out content. But I'm sure you were consuming content. What have you guys seen change from when you started jumping till now?
Do you mean like change for us or the landscape in general?
Let's look at the landscape in general. But if anything sticks out for you personally, you can definitely add that in.
Let me think about that a sec. Brandon, go ahead if you have something.
I can also stall if you want me to stall.
No, all good. Well, I don't know. You know, the whole world's about me, so I just think about myself. Yeah. And
there's the pull quote.
Yeah. So with that being said, it's a lot easier for me to speak about that, right? Because honestly, I'll say this. I would say when we actually first started, there weren't as many fitness accounts. Like the only really big ones that at the time were like Elliot Hulse, Hodge Twins, then Kino Body, Brandon Carter, like a few of like the guys, like the OGs. And so I feel like, and also a lot of those accounts too, some of those bigger accounts, I feel like it's funny to watch the life cycle where like the tactics they use to get attention don't work as well now. And now there's like a new wave of people. And so I feel like people are just becoming more wise to like what's BS and what's not. Like you can't just keep spamming people with like, you know, clickbait type stuff, especially in the fitness world. I feel like people get sick of it and then they just drop off after a little bit. But for Dan and myself, I think Dan will agree with this. I think that we're just so much more comfortable in our own skin and on camera than we were when we started, because neither of us has any experience ever like presenting or being the face of something. So when we started, it was like, this is my personality. This is me trying to express myself. And then over time, we realized, wait a minute, we don't have to try to express ourselves. All we have to do is literally just be ourselves.
That is such an important point, because like as someone who has done a lot of videos, both that have been used publicly and just for company professional reasons, like that's so real. Like trying to do the right thing or do it the right way versus just letting yourself be yourself. But it's really hard to get to that point.
Yeah, I just think it takes
very.
And there's no other way around. There's no shortcuts. You just have to do it over and over.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do the thing. Right back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Dan, anything you want to weigh in with that?
I was thinking the one thing that's changed in the landscape is I feel like when YouTube, I remember like blogging was like the big thing in like from 2012 to like it's, you know, obviously outside of that realm and it still is big, but it seemed like what you saw a lot of was like Precision Nutrition, John Romanello, Craig Ballantyne, Bedros Keuilian, like all those fitness guys who were doing like the blogging, Adam Bourne's another one. Those guys were like, that was like the hot thing. And then people kind of started transitioning to popularity on YouTube. And one thing that I'll say that's changed a lot about that landscape is, and I remember Brandon and I, when we first started, that was around the time when like vlogging and putting out tons of content was like the thing. Mm. And we were headed in like a really interesting direction where I was like, everyone is vlogging all the time and putting out like 4 to 6 videos a week. And I was just thinking like Brandon and I went through a phase where we vlogged for 1 month and we were sometimes putting out like 2 videos a day. And
that's a lot.
It was like, it was the worst. It was terrible. Like we do have these hilarious, really fun vlogs to go back and watch, which like I will never like for those like home video purposes. I'm so glad we made them. But like for our business, we were kind of sucked into that landscape of like whoever can make the most content and like cut it up cool is going to win the game. And I feel like the landscape has now shifted to like, be yourself. Don't focus on putting out. It's not the number of, videos you put out. It's just the quality and what topic are you talking about? Are people even searching for that topic? Is it saturated? Which has been really cool because I feel like I thought that by 2020, you'd be walking around cities and every single person would be vlogging and having a camera on their face. And now it's more like, no, people just create content, in a way that works for their life about things they care about. And you have been able to see higher quality content become more popular over the last few years.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense where it's like, I see what you're saying. I always feel like there's like this two different versions of content. This is a gross categorization or reduction of everything, but basically like you've got people who are very straightforward, tactical, and you got people who are actually working on translating who they are into the digital space, And I mean, I haven't been in it in that respect as long as you guys, but even in the past few years, I can feel what you're saying about that. It makes a lot of sense. It really seems like, well, it not even seems like, it's true that you guys have a lot of purpose behind the messages you put out. Like even starting with Zen Dude Fitness, there's this whole mind aspect that you're tying into the workouts, and then you've refined that to be specific towards weight loss. I'm curious if there was a time, on this journey of Zen Dude Fitness to Jump Rope Dudes, that you felt very fulfilled with the work that you've done. And I know that that's kind of searching the memory banks for many, many years, but I'm curious if anything, one or two like kind of pop out memory.
Yeah, I definitely have some. I feel like, and it's funny because like there wasn't any like good result necessarily behind the fulfillment, but it was more again just a process. Dan and I, before we really got traction, we got an opportunity to live in the Big Island of Hawaii just because some Silicon Valley success story dude found our stuff through some random Facebook group, and he wanted like a personal trainer, and he thought we were cool enough, so he let us fly out to Hawaii and stay in his extra apartment / office for free because we really didn't have money to like live. So we were like, this sounds good.
That's cool.
Yeah, and use his car and everything. And it was such a time of uncertainty. Like I just remember, just literally not having any money in my bank. Like my now wife, she came to visit at that time, and I remember she wanted me to get her like a bagel, and like I couldn't do a bagel and hot chocolate. I was like, oh my god, you can't.
Man.
And but anyhow, so I remember one day specifically, Dan and I, we shot a video called Jumping Rope in a Volcano, and we went into the volcano on the Big Island of Hawaii, and we made this like epic vlog, which, really like the quality of it looking back at it now is not that good, but like.
But at the time you guys were like, oh, this is a banging piece of content.
Yeah, that's what we thought. Yeah. And like the whole day of shooting it, and then like the hours into like late night together editing that video and then completing it and watching it all the way through. Like that was one of the most fulfilling memories I have about the journey.
That is cool. I know that feeling of the late night grind of trying to put something out, and it's like when it's done, you're like, listen, that was fun, but I am so glad it's over. And then you get to look back on it.
It's funny because like I think we also thought kind of like, well, this video is so good, it might hit, it might go viral. And like I think it has like 2,000 views still to like this day.
That's how it always goes. Like you think it's gonna be great, and then like it doesn't pop, and you're like, well, at least I had fun.
So true.
That's funny. Dan, anything stick out for you?
What was it? I cut out for a sec when you asked the original question. Was it just like a memorable time, or I thought I heard something more to that?
Yeah, you guys have this. There's a lot tied into your mission beyond just being workout dudes, like you have a mindset aspect to it, weight loss, like there's a lot of purpose behind what you do. Does anything stick out in memory that's been really great along that journey?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought it was. I just wanted to make sure. But
Yeah.
I think Hawaii was definitely, like Brandon said, that one. That's like, you can't forget that. I think for me, like one moment that like, I don't remember if I cried. I almost cried, but I was like in such disbelief at what was happening. Was we went to Africa to put on this like jump rope competition, and we were driving around the country of Malawi, and we like it was just like a really nice car ride. I remember, and Brandon, I'm sure you remember, we didn't say like a word to each other. We were all just like thinking, and it was like this awesome car ride. And then we pulled over to the side of the road, and there was like this village of little kids playing soccer with like a ball that was made out of like tape. Like they balled up like underwear and put tape around it.
Oh, wow.
And we stopped on the side of the road and like played soccer with these kids for like, I don't know, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. And I just was like standing there as the sun was setting, and I was like, holy shit, man. Like this is wild. Like we're outside with kids like fighting obesity. Like it was just that kind of like all these like struggles that we've been through, having no money, kind of like culminated in that one moment where we were like playing soccer with these kids, and they were just like so pumped that we stopped to like, hang out for a little bit. And I was just like, it was just one of those moments where you're like, man, I can't believe that it started as this and now it's this.
Yeah. It literally took you across the world, and sounds like it's done that many times over with the travels. Like that is really awesome. And you've earned it. It wasn't just like, oh, something hit and then you did it. It's like you guys had to work hard for years to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So now, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, like, we have a lot of really good nostalgic memories like that. And I would say that, when we were able to meet, because it's weird doing stuff on the internet and not having any physical place. So when we were able to meet some of these people who've lost like over 100 pounds and like have overcome like depression or OCD, like some of those things too were like some of like the holy shit, like this, everything was worth it moment. Like I just put videos on the internet and like, this is what happened. It's crazy.
You guys have brought so many people into not only jump rope for weight loss, which is already tremendous, but a lot of these people then move on to learn even more about different styles of jump rope, and then they supercharge their journey that way. And I think you're also referring to our mutual friend Deck, right? Deck McCarthy, who like, man, that guy is an inspiration in so many ways.
Incredible. Yeah, I think about guys like him or Chris that have just taken it to like a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
It's really incredible to see like just to see how like, not just Deck like losing weight, but he's just like a machine. Like he's just turned himself into this like other thing. And it's really cool to like see him go through that whole journey,
And to see, I mean, you guys have obviously hung out with him. Unfortunately, I haven't spent any physical time with him yet, but he has really gone from a super, super dark place to, like you said, he's transformed into literally a machine. And that dude, like, oh man, like it's, I would imagine you've met so many people who have really flipped things around and in a similar way as you guys have. I mean, you guys have both made massive weight loss and mental gains, with all of this that you've, accomplished up to this point. What comes next? Is there anything that you guys are hoping to accomplish in the future?
It's top of mind, but I'll just say that we used to do a lot more like goal planning, and now we're just more discovering what comes across our plate and and just going with the flow. Funny enough. I don't know, what do you think, Dan?
Man, honestly, like more of this. like, I think sometimes when people get asked that question, because we used to think this way of like, we used to be like, we want to be night athletes, or we want to, by this point, we want our business to be this big. We want to help this many people. And now it's just like, I feel like we've created this formula for, like, I know I can speak for Brandon on this too. And this has been the hardest part about the pandemic is like, we get, like, when we can go see people in other countries and our country and like hug people and hear their stories, and like that is the most like fulfilling way to live life for me personally. Like that just being able to do more of this is the only goal that I have, like the only thing I see, just continuing to make more 100-pound plus transformation videos. Like, that's being able to meet someone who's like, yeah, I've lost 100 pounds and my life is totally different, is like a drug. Like, I'm like, all right, where's the next person? Like, let's help them out. Let's go.
It's people. Like, you guys genuinely enjoy connection, and that's backed up by all of the activities that you choose to do as well in terms of, fitness. And like, it sounds like you guys really do have a focus on not only impacting people, but spending quality time with other humans.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like, like I said, not like being in the pandemic, it's been so difficult because
you can't see anyone.
I used to do these. No, we can't see anyone. Like, we would go to these meetups and like, we wouldn't eat all day because we were so excited to like,
oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah. And you're like, you get done and then you finally leave the group and you're like, Brandon and I would look at each other like, dude, I'm exhausted, man. Like, just talking to so many people and like being psyched up all day, like, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. It's just like, in one respect, I love that there is obviously, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, these TikTok, these platforms that allow us to connect, and that is awesome. But it's not the same as when you're standing next to someone and you're like, oh damn, you guys are way taller than me. Like, let's jump rope, let's hang out, and it's like, yeah, it's just a different kind of cool, Yeah. I'm curious, like, and we've really gone over a lot of stuff, but what has been, this can be jump rope related, or you can extrapolate it to something different if you want, but what has been one of the most difficult things you've had to learn or you've had to overcome?
Oh, wow. It's deep.
Yeah. I can buy you time if you want.
I would say compassionately learning to work together. Like, as like Brandon as my business partner, like, he's also my best friend. And like people, I feel like we've heard so much talk in business about like, be careful about getting a business partner. And like, there's all these, problems that can happen. And like, we didn't even really know each other that long before we started this. Like, there was every reason in the world why this should have just totally failed. But like, one thing that I think we've done a really great job of is just like being aware of each other's needs and making sure that the other person feels good, and if something's not right, being open enough to constantly, like, Brandon and I communicate everything to each other that's going on. And I think like that's something that's like very important. And like going down this path is just having this like, be like, whenever problems arise, like being able to get through them and being confident that you will continue to be able to get through them.
I would imagine at some points it's almost like a pressure cooker because you have this like public perception or public, public brand. What's been like has there been an example of a time where you did face at least at the time, a very difficult decision, and how did you work through that? What were kind of some of the learning moments there? Because I feel like, to be honest, I feel like that kind of what you just articulated, I feel like that most likely has also translated to other relationships outside of business. And you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that kind of a skill really works in a lot of different places.
There's probably been a handful of times where we've had to, Dan and I were like the rubber met the road. We're like, all right, we really need to communicate through this. But I remember when Dan first came down to Medellin, Colombia, It's like, all right, well, left my whole life behind, and I was down there, and I actually was in a ton of debt because my first businesses I tried weren't successful, and like Dan and I weren't like super close, so I had to communicate that. And then Dan had a pretty good job beforehand, and so he was having to fund the business, just kind of keep our heads above water, because I was making debt payments to get out of debt. And so like during that period of time, it was kind of like, hey, like, are we going to do this or not? Are we going to like keep sticking it out? Like, like most people, I think in those moments would be like, nothing seems like it's lining up here. There's no traction. There's not money coming in. We're in a foreign country. Like we should just, you should just give up and like go back to like something that's more safe.
That's a hard position to be in.
Definitely. And I think just like during that period of time, we just communicating. We're like, we just kind of almost had blind faith and got through that period of time where, of course, like you can imagine, like Dan's like, well, I'm putting my money into this. Like, I hope this works out. And I'm like, well, I can't do anything because I'm already don't have any money and I'm trying to get out of debt. And so that period of time, I think, was really the biggest hump for us to get over for the business to start making money, and then for the business to start paying Dan back all the money that he had to lend it. So we were finally like kind of actually energetically even to where, nothing was like, no decisions were being made out of like that weird energy around money. Like once we got over that hump, I felt like so much more downhill after that. And so for me, that stands out as like a really defining moment in our business.
What was it that Dan, you want to jump in there?
No, I was just going to say, I was going to answer the exact same thing. Like, I remember standing, like, knocking on your door, Brandon, in Medellin, and being, like, in the doorway and being, like, hey, bro, we got to, like, talk about this. And I remember, like, us saying, like, maybe we'll just continue to live together and we'll have separate businesses. And, like, I remember that going down. And, yeah, that's just crazy to think about. That was all.
No, that's really cool because you both had the same intention. Like, listen, the most important thing here is our friendship. And so at that point, like, how do we make money, not a potential point of contention? How do we actually eliminate that? What, that really takes a lot of, it takes a lot of confidence and takes a lot of willingness to stick through that kind of a moment. What kind of was the result of that conversation? I mean, obviously you kept going, but was that like, all right, like, let's just like really get after it, like do the thing, like let's do the work? Is that how that conversation ended?
Yeah,
remember?
I think it was like,
obviously we're here now, so
right.
I think it was just like we decided, we kind of put blind faith in it. Like, I remember we both just decided, like, listen, we're going to make, a couple hundred videos and we'll revisit where we're at after that. But like for the next 2 years, we are doing nothing but making videos. And there's no discussion of, I think that's one thing that Brandon and I both have a really good, like, we're both we have blind faith. Like, I think there's so many people who are just so incredibly smarter than us, but we're not smart enough to realize the risk. And so because of that, it like,
love it.
Seriously, like, it worked to our, it's so true though, man. Like, that's what worked to our advantage. We were just like, we are just going to do this. Like, we just said, like, okay, like, for the next 2 years, we're just going to make as much as we possibly can. And it's going to work. And like, we looked at each other and we're like, yep, okay, it's going to work. Like, let's make it work. And it was just like, I don't know.
I like that you said, let's make a couple hundred videos and for the next 2 years. Like, I think, man, like, that is such a key, especially when it comes to the, online game of building up a brand, or in any respect. Like, it doesn't work with 5 to 25 videos. Like, you got to be after it for a long time to see legitimate results, which you guys have obviously done and you've been very good at. Like, that is, have you have you learned anything from that process of sticking with building this business over the past few years? Like that idea of like, here we go. Like, let's make 100 videos. Let's be after this for the next 2 years. Like, even though it seemed that simple at the moment, through the process, did you learn anything new?
I would say just real quick, like, because I know I've been talking a lot, it completely changed my life. Like going through this process has spilled over into everything I do. Like creating this business has completely changed the way I look at everything. Like surfing, for example. I'm like getting better all the time, but me at 24, I would not have stuck with surfing because I didn't understand that if you just do something forever, you get good at it. Like everyone's
Patience.
trying to like be good at, yeah, like everyone's trying to be good at things that it's like, if you want to be like a world-class dancer, then go dance for 20 years and then get back to me after those 20 years. Like building this business has showed me like, there's no instant gratification. Like you have to, like this morning, I went and got like thrashed on a couple like pretty big waves and I just don't care. I'm like, yep, gonna go back out tonight, gonna go back out tomorrow. And like, I wouldn't have done that at a younger age because I would have been like, dude, I'm not good at this. Like, why do I keep putting the time in? And now I'm just like, if I just do this all the time, eventually it's gonna work.
Yeah, same thing. Just the power of staying focused and being consistent. You can't beat it. I mean, like I've had this passion for, teaching what I now call mental fitness training. I've been doing it in one way or another for the last like 11, 12 years. And even like my personal stuff, like the reason why I do it is like, jump rope dude's going well. Like I'm good on money, but I just believe in this information. And so like, it's been 2.5 years of putting out content, and like most people don't know I have a channel because it doesn't have a ton of traction. But like through jump rope dudes and that experience, like I learned what happens when you stay consistent and focus on something. So like Dan said, like once you unlock that, which I think that's what so many people are missing, is just to like understand that on a visceral level. You really understand that you can create anything you want in this life. It's just, you just got to keep going after it.
And that also applies obviously directly to jump rope gains, to fitness gains, to really everything else. If the younger version of you, let's pick 20, because I think that's a good age to pick. If the 20-year-old version of you could see who you are right now, what do you think they would say?
Oh, it'd be a big sigh of relief, dude.
That's probably the best answer. Can you elaborate on that?
I think I think it would just be like, and I'm not saying like I don't walk around, like I said, dude, I still struggle with depression, I still have anxiety, I still have bad days, I still like all that stuff that everyone experiences. You can't escape it, like I worry all the time about like what's going to happen to our business, what, all that stuff. But one thing is just like in general, no matter what happens, I've definitely learned to just be like, I'm happy with life, man. Like I really am. Even on like the shittiest days, I'm like, even when like bad stuff happens, I'm like, I mean, we're on a spinning rock and we really have no idea why we're here. Like it's all good. Like everything's fine. Whereas like me at 20, I was like extremely neurotic and like, I need to make money so I can buy a big house. And like, I don't, I want to like, yeah, I was just a product of, this like whole Western culture, like just acquire more things and work all the time. And then like kind of wake up when you're 70 years old and be like, wait, what just happened?
That is quite the transformation, man. That's a big difference. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
20-year-old me. Yeah, I think 20-year-old me would be really satisfied with where I'm at. I feel like I've always had a lot of confidence and self-belief. No, I shouldn't say I always had a lot of confidence. I always had a lot of like self-belief. I always believed that I was going to have a big impact in the world in some way. So I think I wouldn't be necessarily surprised about where I am, but I would be like very just satisfied and like, okay, cool. So it did work out. Okay. Okay. Good.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, man. You guys, this has been really fun to chop it up because like, obviously you post a tremendous amount of content as we've discussed many times over, but like, it's cool to actually really sit down and have a real discussion about both of you as people, you know, and to kind of peel back a few of the layers. I think now would be kind of a good time to ask the main question of the podcast that I ask every guest, which is, what is jump rope to you? And we can start with Brandon if you want, and then we'll kind of hear from Dan after that.
Jump rope for me is freedom. Like jump rope has created freedom in like every part of my life. Like freedom to work out anywhere, anytime, freedom to know that like I have this tool I can always rely on for just like taking care of my body. And then like freedom for creating the lifestyle that I want. Like I owe, you know, everything I have now to jump rope, and, you know, the whole movement we've been a part of around jump rope. It's given me financial freedom. It's given me time freedom because we have all these videos out. I can spend time exactly as I want to. Like for me, jump rope is freedom.
Nice. I really like that answer a lot. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Damn, kind of tough. I was like, I know what Brandon's gonna say. Let me try to think of something.
You guys are so similar that you literally are going to answer the same way too.
I mean, it's so true, man. I think a lot of what Brandon said is how I feel about it too. I think maybe one thing that might be, well, I'm sure B could say this as well, but like one thing different from what he said was, for me, it's patience. It's control. It's and I don't mean control in like I have to control things kind of way. I mean like whenever I'm struggling with something, or like something's just hard in my life and I don't think I can do it, the act of, and I'm talking about like jumping rope with no music, like you are just hearing the tap of the rope. To me, it's like it's the ultimate form of like patience and control, because you're in this state where like you're moving, but you're essentially being like, you're making this perfect movement happen every second, because you can't, you know, if you trip, then you're going to mess up the rhythm. And for me, it's like, it's kind of like metaphorical. And like, if I'm going through something or whatever, like getting, you know, having the jump rope out and being able to skip for like 10 consecutive minutes without messing up is like the ultimate form of grounding for myself. And I think that's like, you know, jump rope is such a great teacher in that way. You
guys have delivered beyond my expectations, and I knew we were going to have a phenomenal chat, but this is even man, this was really good, you guys. This has been really fun to really dig into all this.
Yeah, same, man. Thanks for having us on. And yeah, dude, we also like we're a huge fan of you, man. Like what you've done with jump rope. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like what, you know, we see the community of like you know, you guys that have like put so much work into like quick jump roping and freestyling. Like, dude, it's insane. Like like we love when people ask about, you know, tricks and stuff like that, and we'll kind of refer people to like you and Tori and Mike and like Chris and just all these people that have taken it and made it essentially like an extreme sport.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot, actually, like big time. Cool, guys. Well, I definitely want to be respectful of your time, let you get back to your day, but yeah, thank you again for being on.
Yeah,
thanks for having us,
asking good questions and just relating to us authentically. Like I think the podcast world needs more guys like you that are just kind of grounded and, you know, are willing to just have a conversation authentically and, you know, ask questions that come from your heart. Because as you probably see, there's so many podcasters who come in with like this persona, and I'm going to ask you this question,
right?
And I'm going to tell you oh, that's so funny, guys. You know?
You should have your own podcast like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh man.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
About those people. They have their like, you know, their script they run through. So I appreciate your authenticity and showing up today and being a great host.
For sure, man. It's you know, the way you guys articulated wanting to go out and physically be with people. I enjoy breaking down audio into a way where it feels like as close as possible to getting to know another human. So I'm really happy to hear that you guys had fun with that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right, guys. I will definitely be catching up with you later. And thanks again for being on.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. See you, Nate.
Hey, before you go, I just wanted to say one last thing. One of my main goals for this podcast is to share the stories, you know, of other jumpers and provide a full picture about everything that's possible with the jump rope. The more people that hear this, the better. And it would really help me out if you sent this podcast to somebody you know, whether in real life or digitally on Instagram, Facebook, whatever platform you use. It would mean the world to me. So that's it. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, lunch, evening, whatever time it is for you right now. See you later.